In just a few weeks, you will be back on Netflix. Everyone's favorite bibliophilic serial killer, Joe Goldberg, is headed for London, which is definitely not known for its history of famous serial killers and mystery solvers. Joe's journey has been rife with deception, sexual tension, and more literary parallels than my college lit course. So let's take a look at some things you might have missed in seasons 1 through 3 of You. If there's one thing that serial killers love to do, it's change their names every time they move to a new city in order to hide their identity. Okay, Joe might love it, but some of them have to, right? I mean, you get to completely reinvent yourself, going from an average Joe to a not so average Joe. In our Joe's case, the transition to season 2 comes with a name change to Will Bettelheim. The last name is likely derived from the real-life psychologist Bruno Bettelheim, an Australian-born psychologist that specialized in the treatment and education of emotionally disturbed children. Joe has mentioned that he's a fan of Bettelheim's book, The Uses of Enchantment, in which the author analyzes a series of classic fairy tales in an attempt to explain how they help children cope with various types of psychological trauma. Considering that this is the season that delves into Joe's childhood trauma and has him saving a teenager from her abuser, that's pretty fitting. Although considering it was Wednesday Addams that was in danger, I think she would have been just fine.
If he breaks your heart, I'll nail gun him.
In a departure from Mr. Mooney's cozy bookstore, season 2 spends most of its time in Narrated, a local grocery store where you come for the spring mix and stay for the perfect life that could be yours if you spend enough and gave up gluten. Fans have pointed out that the shop's name is an anagram for Nirvana, which is a natural fit for two reasons. One, there have been several references to the classic '87 rock band of the same name, such as the salon next door to Mr. Mooney's bookstore. And two, it's a hippy-dippy grocery store in LA. The walls are literally lined with organic foods and spiritual wellness books. Although the real twist is that Anavrin is actually an homage to the real-life LA grocery store chain known as Erewhon, which also specializes in organic goods. This name is also an anagram for Nowhere, which is just the kind of pretentious hipster naming convention you'd expect from Los Angeles. Remember Benji from back in season 1? How could you not? He's only the first murder victim on the show, and that jerk had it coming. How could you cheat on Beck? Now you might make the argument that he was just testing the dating app he invented. Yeah, he's the one who invented the dating app Love Hooks. From my experience with Tinder, I can't really see the sex appeal in anyone who tries to gamify and monetize human relationships.
I gotta go. Got a rollerblading meeting with Ashton Kutcher, Elizabeth Warren, and one of those dudes that drives the bang bus. Later!
And based on Joe's tone of voice when looking up Benji's social media, neither can he. And that attitude carries over from season 1 to season 2 when Joe is given a list of dating apps for people who hate dating apps. And which app does he completely skip over? Love Hooks. Although I'm gonna be real with you, Joe. Any dating app that's supposedly made for people who hate dating apps is just as much of a waste of your time. If the first thing someone asks you is, does this peach look like a butt? Then you found the perfect match. It means they're an absolute delight or just as insane as you are in ways you didn't expect. Both are true for Love Quinn, Joe's latest love interest as of season 2 and future baby mama. This line feels like it might have been a callback to season 1, as Peach Salinger was one of Joe's enemies and eventual murder victims. And yeah, she was a total butt, to put it lightly.
You basic.
The nectar-filled ghost of Joe's past continued to haunt him at work when his coworker also mentions a bunch of peaches being mad at him during an LSD trip. I guess this is one way to keep a man away from drugs. After all, books are the ultimate drug. It's an understatement to say that Love Quinn has a lot on her plate, with her having to save her younger brother from an abusive relationship, her having killed said abuser, her brother being killed and framed for her husband's crimes, being pregnant with the child of said criminal husband, and last but not least, she's literally named after having no points in tennis. That kind of stress will add years to your life, so it's important to have an outlet to release that. As Love's friends are kind to point out, Love cooks when she's happy, but bakes when she's stressed, which definitely points to why she chose to open a bakery when she and Joe moved to the suburbs. In addition to being married to a serial killer, she's gotta be under a lot of pressure to impress her new neighbors. And you can definitely see that stress on her face during her final confrontation with Joe, because what was she doing? Baking.
Did you come in for a poison?
The intent of this video isn't to poke plot holes in the show, but sometimes the show's leaps in logic can only lead to questions that were meant to be asked. As Redditor Connor For Real pointed out, Love's bakery didn't make a whole lot of sense. It's insane how Love managed to have the bakery up and running within a week, constantly stacked with baked goods. In fact, there didn't seem to be any other employees in the store either. How did she have time to have her teenage love affair and grow sedatives in her garden. We can probably reason that her parents financed the bakery along with her and Joe's suburban house, but I don't think she thought this venture through. Although if Glass Onion has taught us anything, most rich people don't.
I will do whatever I have to do to save myself, and he is my only lifeline.
You know, Joe really should have seen the events of season 3 coming. Once he and Love hit it off, she handed him the book Play It As It Laves by Joan Didion. This story is about a woman who moves to Los Angeles and enters a toxic and often violent relationship with a guy that she just met. Now, given the context of how season 2 kicked off, the irony at play was that Joe was the one who moved to LA to meet the love interest that would result in said toxic and violent relationship. Now, it's fair to say that unlike the book, Joe and Love's relationship had problems on both sides. But still, Joe, next time someone hands you a book like that, just run. And also, while he's in London, he should probably find someone who isn't into books. Maybe find someone who's into CrossFit or knitting or runs an animal shelter. Although it's not looking that way since he's on the hunt for Marianne. Just find a new creative outlet that's less likely to get you killed or put you in a position to kill someone else. I'm begging you, man. We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into the mind of the last good guy in LA. Hopefully this will inspire you to look into more of the books that were mentioned throughout the show, or maybe you'll just be terrified like me and never enter another public library again. Was there anything we missed that you think's worth bringing up? Let us know in the comments below.